Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 315th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparently, recording from the MSP studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. It was my birthday a couple days ago.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday.
Thank you. My wife got me a gift.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And it was really cool.
Let's hear it.
It was a record player.
Nice.
Let's
go. Let's go.
This is the first time I'm telling you guys this and the listeners, and she got me Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Nice.
To go with it. So
Beautiful.
we just put it together and we just sat down and put the baby to sleep and we just listened to the whole record.
Nice. That's awesome.
It was really a relaxing night and it was really cool.
Now you can spend way too much money buying records.
I was like, well, I guess that I know what I need to do next.
Yeah.
We just need to have like a record exchange. We just like trade them back and forth. With
That's a good
other.
idea.
Yeah, have an exchange, yeah.
Yes. We'll have communal records. I like that. Very cool. Love putting on a record.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so good with, I feel like, for kids too, because it kind of trains them to like, no, we're just listening to this.
Yeah.
We're not skipping songs.
We're not changing artists.
Yep.
We're no playlists.
Yep.
Just put it on, let it play. You got to earn it.
Yes.
And
normalize it.
Yeah. And I felt like I was even, hearing things that maybe I don't hear in the song when I listen to it on Spotify and stuff. Like it's just that pure sound.
Oh yeah. Love it. Kyle, we've got quite a bit to talk about, even though it was a bye week. We are going to, kind of wish cast a little bit, some adjustments we hope the offense made during the bye. We're going to talk about uniforms. We're going to talk about Texas A&M. Before we do all of that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review wherever you listen to us, and of course, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. And Kyle, to kick things off, we had a bye week, and I would say Missouri won the bye week, considering, two undefeated SEC teams had to play each other in Georgia and Alabama.
Great game.
Ole Miss got upset.
Great game.
Yeah. So Missouri is still undefeated in the SEC.
It does, at the elimination of the divisions and that there's just one big SEC group now really does make every SEC game interesting, and it impacts Missouri every SEC game.
Yeah, I hadn't actually really thought about that because we aren't too far into the SEC season, but yeah, back in the day, you could lose 34-0 to Georgia and still make the SEC championship game, just root against Georgia a bunch. And I guess there's still possibility for something like that, but yeah, it makes a random game between Ole Miss and like two SEC teams that aren't on Missouri's schedule.
Yeah, it makes you root for those types of upsets even more than you probably would have already.
Yeah. Going into the bye week, we talked a lot about Missouri's offense and the struggles generating explosive plays. Brady Cook not up to this point, not breaking out and having a big game passing like he did at this point last year. And I compared the first 4 games of last year to this year. Pretty much all the stats were down, except actually Noel has more rushing yards than Cody Schrader did through 4 games. But one thing I neglected to point out is through 4 games this year, Missouri is averaging 36.5 points per game. And last year, they were only averaging 30.5. So almost a touchdown better per game this year than last year, despite the raw yardage in the passing game being noticeably worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I do actually think a big part of that is literally just field position. I think Missouri's done a really good job of controlling field position in their games. I think Parker Fleming on Twitter put out a tweet with a lot of cool stats and stuff kind of previewing Missouri and Texas A&M, but one of those things that he had on there was like net field position, basically, net field position rate or dominance, and Missouri ranked 11th in the country in that. So they are just setting themselves up, but they're giving themselves shorter fields to score, which is good, but obviously less room to accumulate stats potentially. And yeah.
And actually, now that you say that, the Murray State game, we were like joking that their whole game, Murray State's whole game plan was just to give Missouri only 40 yards to score so they wouldn't rack up a ton of yardage on them.
Well, I'm pretty sure I guess who did Missouri play third? It would have been Boston College, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that like in the Boston College game, the announcers were like, "This is the first time an opponent has been in like Missouri territory this season," or something like that. So those first 2 games, they really, really dominated field position.
One thing that just watching the SEC games, since Missouri wasn't playing, obviously there were some really good ones, but one thing that stood out to me, I don't know, I was trying to think about Missouri's season so far and like what are these other teams doing differently? And first of all, like Ole Miss's offense went from the best in the country to just doing nothing all of a sudden.
That was one of the first times I've seen Ole Miss get slowed down like that.
And it was dramatic. Like it was not just an off night. They were bad the entire game, pretty much. And I feel like what we've seen so far from Missouri, and I think last year and this year, and the strategy here is like, if we are the better team, we will be able to just grind out a win, playing fairly conservatively and just minimizing mistakes. And I think that can be a little bit boring to watch sometimes, but that's kind of SEC football a little bit to some degree, is like we're playing, the SEC is like the closest to professional football outside of the NFL. So there is this sort of like conservative, just
eliminate mistakes.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's interesting to watch that play out because what Missouri seems to be doing is they're just kind of leaning on the opponent until they break. And they have not been able to have that breaking point happen so far against Boston College or Vanderbilt.
Yeah. I mean, they're taking advantage of their size dominance on the line, and they're kind of just like overtime just dominating the defense they're going against. They're leaning heavily in the run game.
Yeah.
And it is like a dominant play style, but it hasn't been explosive. And so it's kind of just like nickel and diming the team until we just kind of break them.
Yeah. And it reminds me of way back, 10 plus years ago, I think it was Sheldon Richardson, before the first time Mizzou played an SEC conference game against Georgia. Sheldon Richardson, I think, talked about the SEC playing old man football. And then we remember what happened in that first Georgia game. But there is
it was competitive in like the first half.
Yeah. Till I can't even remember the Georgia defender that just kind of like broke the entire offense in that the entire Mizzou offense was injured by the end of that game. But I don't know. You watch like the Pac-12 or like Big 12 games where they're just throwing it all over the place. Yeah. Like guys have 5 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions and 500 yards.
Spread them out and throw it. And just see what happens.
And it just feels like
take risks.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the SEC kind of avoid that sort of just like, we're just going to throw it around. And I don't know. So there's some charm in college football where you're like, you don't know what's going to happen each play. And I think I'm just ready to see a Mizzou game where it feels like anything could happen every play.
Yeah. Ready to see him open it up a little bit.
Yeah. It feels like so far this year, it's just predictable.
Yeah.
From a fan standpoint, where it's like, okay, we're gonna.
Yep. Oh, we got the first down. Oh, we're gonna run it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we just got a nice run play. Oh, we're gonna follow it up with another run and just see if we can do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just falling into predictable playing calling a little bit. Just kind of boring.
But there's times where that's all you need to do.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that in Mizzou games this season where it's like we're getting 8 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And we're kind of struggling to connect in the pass game. So it's like, I guess we'll just keep running because eventually 8 yards a carry, you're going to beat anybody.
We can kind of just like transition here into talking about Texas A&M, but I wanted to mention they're going to be wearing all white for the road trip to A&M. And
it's going to be hot.
92 degrees.
That's hot.
Yeah. But I wanted to bring that up because Coach Drinkwitz was recently on a 101 ESPN in St. Louis talking about uniforms and branding for a couple minutes. And I don't know, it's just interesting to hear his perspective on the uniforms, particularly talking about the Block M helmets versus the Oval Tiger. And he very adamantly was like, the Oval Tiger is the brand of Mizzou athletics. He said, I love the Block M. The Block M will return on the helmets at some point. But he specifically talked about wanting to create a brand that lasts. And when you have, using hyperbole, said when you have 75 different logos on the helmet, then you're flipping through the channels, you don't know who's playing at first glance. I don't know. What did you think of that? Is he making a big deal out of nothing? Because I feel like the fan base wants the Block M more than the Oval Tiger.
Yeah. Honestly, my first reaction is I just find it hilarious that he feels like he has to respond to the chaos going on Twitter and stuff. It's just so funny that I feel like he personally just sits there and reads through everything and feels like he owes us a response. I don't know. Look at the basketball team just came out with uniforms. Yeah. They're throwing it back all season long. Yeah. Literally. Like the throwback uniforms are the uniforms, if we're understanding that correctly, right, for this season. So no Oval Tiger on the basketball uniforms. Yeah. The baseball team's kind of got that M.
Yes. They got their own thing there.
They got their own thing. So, maybe he's just talking about like the football team specifically. I don't know. Maybe that's true. I have
With the timing of the basketball team announcing those new uniforms, it almost seems like there's a little bit of like internal disagreement on the direction of the branding there.
Literally, the day after that happened, I think they came out with that announcement. Yeah, I got the Oval Tiger just plastered on my chest right now. Oh yeah. So I don't know. I must be biased, but I don't know. I think it's. I think Missouri is a national brand. Yeah. Like no matter what logo is on the helmet. Yeah. So I don't really think it matters that much.
And I can understand where he's coming from though. If you got the script logo, there
have been a lot of
Sailor
variations.
Tiger, the paw print M that we've seen floating around, and if you want to rein it back a little bit, sure. But
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, in the past we've had that like big tiger logo that takes over almost the whole helmet. Yeah, but if you want to just go with the Oval Tiger and the Block M and switch it in and out,
look, I think the Oval Tiger is still probably one of the best logos in the SEC. Yeah, like objectively. Yeah. So I'm fine with it. It's symmetrical. It's fierce.
Yeah. There's been speculation about this for a while now, about the lack of gold pants. Mm-hmm. And Coach Drinkwitz confirmed in that interview that he does not have gold pants as an option, which really hurts me personally because I was counting on, I had it in my head that they were going to throw it back to 2010 for the Oklahoma game. I just had it all planned out. Like after Missouri beats Alabama, College game day's coming to Como. Missouri's going to wear the Block M helmets, black jersey, gold pants, just to run it back like we did in 2010.
Maybe he's lying.
That would be an incredible long con.
Yeah, it would be. Okay, well let me throw this counterpoint at you. Yeah. Are we making too big of a deal of like that? Remember that one time we beat Oklahoma?
Maybe.
Like, hey, remember that? Everybody knows that time we beat Oklahoma. Like,
yes.
Is that kind of,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that kind of is how it is. Yeah. Actually. Yeah.
Well, I see what you're saying. Like, okay.
Like yeah, let's move on.
Let's not worry about, let's not pretend like that was the only time we've ever done anything.
Yeah.
Okay. But the black with the gold pants.
It's classic.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
To not have that even as an option.
I agree.
Wild.
I wouldn't really mind if they just kind of started over maybe in the next year or two and just brought some fresh ideas to the uniforms. Maybe.
I think we need Nike to step it up a little bit, give us something a little bit more unique. Feels like there's a lot of Nike schools that just have a very plain jersey with stripes on them. Mm-hmm. There's not even any stripes on the pants.
Yeah, the white pants are just as basic as you can get. Looked like what I wore in like middle school football.
Yeah, I was thinking Mighty Mites, yeah. Anyway, they're going to look good in the all whites traveling to Texas A&M. And we'll get into that Texas A&M preview. This is, of course, first year for new head coach Mike Elko, formerly defensive coordinator at A&M, then head coach at Duke. They are 4-1 this year, lost to Notre Dame, beat McNeese, Florida, Bowling Green, and Arkansas. So they're actually alone at 2-0 at the top of the SEC. Last time Missouri went to College Station was in 2014. Everybody remembers the 2013 at Faurot Field, Henry Josie clinched the SEC East. That next year, Missouri went to College Station and won 34-27. And I feel like that's a overlooked big Mizzou win. When I think of traveling to College Station, I do think of that last year in the Big 12 with the James Franklin touchdown where he just ran over like half the Texas A&M defense.
Yeah.
That's an iconic Mizzou play.
It is.
But first impression, are you scared to go into College Station 11 a.m., kick this thing off against Texas A&M?
I'll be honest. I'll bring this up because I think things have changed, but I did pick Texas A&M to win this game in our preseason predictions. And I think a lot of that has to do with the environment. And I think a lot of the reason why it's changed has more to do with A&M than it does Mizzou. But I still think anytime you're playing in front of 105,000 screaming fans, like that has to be accounted for no matter who the team is and like who the quarterback is. We might be playing against, and I'm using air quotes, backup quarterback, who honestly I think might be better than the starter. But so I don't know. I'm not sure A&M in a vacuum is like a very scary opponent, but all things considered, like the magnitude of every game in college football and the expectations riding on Mizzou right now and the atmosphere, I think I am a little bit scared, a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I think there's some deserved nervousness. I mean, it is a pivotal game coming off the bye week with an A&M team that, like, on paper doesn't really scare you. They haven't done anything so far this year to think, I mean, they're barely in the top 25.
Right.
And just haven't been super consistent. But, yeah, I mean, it's the...
But what has Missouri done to make you feel good about what we're going to do?
Exactly.
Also?
And that's the only thing is, like, you got to hope that after 4 games and then you have a bye week to kind of review everything, fine-tune stuff, throw stuff out that wasn't working, double down on stuff that is working, that the offense is going to come out and execute. And they've been saying for weeks now that they practice with like giant speakers on the field so that the crowd noise is not going to be an issue. And I think it was Theo Weiss in the press conference said, hey, if you score a few points early, the crowd gets a lot quieter.
Yeah.
So they have really taken it on themselves to not worry about the crowd. And if they just take care of business, that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, Vanderbilt did that to us for a good part of the game a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, Brady Cook was talking about that a little bit too in his press conference where he said, like, yeah, we're simulating the volume, and honestly, I think it's louder in practice, and like the speakers are actually, I think, louder than the stadium noise, because the stadium noise is like kind of a distant loud, and which makes a lot of sense. There are not that many people in the world who can like firsthand recall what that's like to play in front of 100,000 people in a sporting event.
Yeah,
Brady Cook, one of those people. Yeah. So he would know. And I guess that makes me feel a little bit better.
I also don't want that to be like a challenge for the A&M fans. Yeah, that like, oh, they're talking about how the noise isn't going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And so now they're going to like bring it up a notch. But I guess regardless, got to be ready for that environment.
I guess it's always possible. I mean, Missouri is a top 10 team.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I guess it's possible. A&M hasn't had the season they wanted so far, and maybe they don't have 100,000 people show up, but I think it'll be a pretty crazy environment no matter what.
Yeah, and 2-0 in the SEC. I mean,
true.
Technically everything is still in front of them. And they've probably got a little bit of energy with Marcel Reed being the quarterback, where it was like Weigman was kind of like inconsistent, hurt, like what do we have here?
Yeah.
So I feel like if I'm a Texas A&M fan, I'm like, let's just turn over the keys to Marcel Reed permanently and see what he can do.
He's a much more exciting player to watch than Weigman was.
Redshirt freshman, 4-star recruit out of Nashville, Tennessee, from the class of 2023. He's 3-0 as a starter this season.
Yeah, just to clear that up, if you watched, a lot of people watched that first game of the year against Notre Dame. I know we watched that together, just kind of trying to scout A&M, but that is not the same quarterback that A&M is playing with now. And so, you probably watched Weigman if you're watching that game. Marcel Reed is the guy now, and he's a totally different player.
Right. Weigman is technically a game-time decision, but he's been that for the last 2 games as well, that Reed has played every snap at quarterback. Most recently, He's actually like in his 3 games as starter, he's incredibly consistent in his output so far. Against Florida, 11 of 17 for 178, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Against Bowling Green, 16 of 29, 173, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then most recently against Arkansas, 11 of 22, 163, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
So
once again, we're playing a guy who can run.
Yeah.
He's very athletic, and he's had a couple of rushing touchdowns already. They will very much use like option plays. They did that well against Arkansas a couple of different times. Like he's got the ability to read the defense and move really quickly.
Yeah, in those 3 starts, he's rushed 35 times for 187 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
Definitely a dual threat. Definitely, I saw against Arkansas, they even ran this kind of like QB play action where he kind of like ducked down like he was going to run it and then completed a pass for like 15 yards.
Yeah,
so
they'll get tricky with it.
Yeah.
And I would say top speed, I would say he's the fastest quarterback we've played out of Pavia, out of Castellanos. I think he's a more explosive athlete than those guys.
Yeah. He's got to be at least right there with Castellanos.
Yeah.
And probably
similar players, probably.
Yeah. Probably Pavia has a little bit more of that like intangible, like gamer aspect
he does that. He has those intangibles for sure.
It's like he just knows where his pitch man is in the weirdest situations.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a ton of that from Reed. It's more like read option and scrambling for a first down. And they do have Le'Veon Moss, their leading rusher, has carried the ball 76 times for 471 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's in the top 5 of the SEC in rushing yards. Their whole offense is geared towards running the ball. They are dead last in the SEC in passing yards per game and second best in the SEC in rushing yards per game.
Yeah. If you can get them in situations where they have to drop back, that's really not their strong suit. A couple of stats from QB Spotlight on YouTube. Marcel Reed is getting blitzed 50% of the time, which is a pretty high number.
Mm-hmm.
So defenses are realizing that this is a way that they can exploit Marcel Reed, and it's working. So on blitzes, he's completing 43% of his passes on 6.3 yards per attempt. So really poor completion rate and like really short passes. He's trying to get the ball out quick, and it's not working really well. When he's not blitzed, he's completing 64% of passes at 8.1 yards per attempt. So he's obviously much more efficient when he's not being blitzed, as most people probably would be. But in a more dramatic way than probably most quarterbacks, he's clearly not handling the blitz as well.
Yeah, and I would say, to add to that, A&M's offensive line is much better in run blocking than they are in pass protection. Mm-hmm. And sometimes he is running into sacks because he just gets a little, happy feet. And that's kind of redshirt freshman type of thing there. Mm-hmm. But it feels like Missouri is, they're going to move away from that like QB contain defense on the edge. And I think it's going to be a lot more of a traditional pass rush from that point of view. Then I hope we see them get creative with how they're using the linebackers in the pass rush and just throw some different looks at the offensive line to try to mix them up. And I feel like we'll be able to have some big tackles for loss.
Yeah.
I feel like the defense has had to kind of slow down a little bit and react to the quarterback the last few weeks. I feel it feels like an opportunity for them to just get going in the pass rush more traditionally.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still think Missouri's probably the best defense that A&M's played this year. I think Notre Dame's probably up there too, but I definitely think Missouri could make this a pretty ugly game. Like this could be a pretty low scoring affair. We might be, depending on some big plays here and there to kind of be able to stay on top.
Might be depending on field goal kicking a little too much.
Oh man. I kind of forgot about that.
Texas A&M on defense, they are led by Nick Scorton, who is one of the best transfers from this past offseason, and he is just an absolute animal. Yeah. I think he's maybe going to be one of the top 3 defensive players taken in the NFL draft.
Yeah. He's a huge difference maker.
And one thing that I noticed from watching the Arkansas game, Arkansas was trying to do a lot of read option and get green in running situations. And Nick Scorton, his mental processing of the play as it's happening is next level.
Yeah.
Like he's able to diagnose the read option and just kind of like, I don't know, it's almost like it doesn't matter. He's getting there and making the play. And I don't know how he does it, but his ability to switch from quarterback to running back in the run game and then dial up a pass rush when they need it on 3rd and long. He's just so versatile, so athletic.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah, you said it. He really is versatile where he's not like kind of that new age like defensive edge player like build. He's a thicker guy. Like he could play inside or outside. Like you said, his processing is great. He is truly one of the best defensive players in the country.
6'4", 285.
Yeah.
And fast.
Jeez. Yeah. He's the full package. A&M in general is just really aggressive in how they play. They want to cause havoc plays. They want to turn you over. They're one of the best teams in the country as far as like turnover margin. I think they're +6 already in turnover margin. They have already have 7 interceptions through 5 games. So that's just kind of what they're high risk, high reward. They're going to pressure you. They're going to try to confuse you. They're going to show blitz at the line and then drop back and just, pick you off. So they're really tough defense to play against.
They got the 2 Shamars. Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart. Defensive lineman. Their defensive line is really good. So how does Missouri's offense handle this? It feels like to me, A&M is going to try to shut down Missouri's running game. They're not going to let Nate Noel beat them, and they're not going to let Brady Cook beat them with his legs.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to... This will be... I feel like I don't want to keep saying that the passing game is going to get going.
Yeah.
And it just never happened.
This might not be the game, honestly. This defense is so tough, but it might have no choice but to get going.
Right, because I feel like A&M is confident enough on defense to kind of put their defensive backs out there and just they got to cover guys.
Yeah.
And A&M is going to be focusing on shutting down the running game and getting in the backfield. Brady Cook is going to have to get rid of the ball quick. And when he sees anybody, when he sees Theo or Luther one-on-one, he's got to let it go and let them go make a play.
100%. Yeah, and kind of like what I said earlier, A&M going to be really aggressive. I think what you're just going to have to do is like kind of lull them to sleep, take what they're giving you, and then be aggressive, take deep shots in those opportunistic moments when you feel like you've got them to fall asleep. I want to see Missouri run more play action. They're only running play action like 25% of the time. So I think they, even when they're still like in the kind of like shotgun formation or pistol, they can still run play action. And I think just even that subtle like fake handoff is enough to sometimes buy some time and help guys get open. I think they really have to utilize that as much as they can against A&M in their aggressive style.
I feel like I'm willing to put this out there as a prediction. I think Luther and Theo both hit 100 yards receiving. I don't think it's going to be as explosive as we're hoping. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as we want the offense to be. I think the yardage is going to be there like it has been so far this season. And Missouri is going to do just enough in the red zone to convert scoring chances.
They can't get much worse than they've been in the red zone, honestly.
Right. So any improvement there is going to be a noticeable difference. Is anything in particular speaking to you as far as like how this game is going to go?
Well, I kind of alluded to it a minute ago, but yeah, I think we could see a pretty ugly game, honestly. I think we could see a lot of punts.
Yeah.
Some field goals, some mistakes, some turnovers. I think Missouri will not be able to get 8 yards on the ground.
No.
like they have been. I think A&M's line will be able to hang, but I don't know. I think I still think Missouri's got the edge here.
I think it could be one of those games that is reminiscent of last year, where the fourth quarter rolls around, and that's when finally the running game pays off. I think they're not going to go away from running the ball. They're not going to go away from Nate Noel and the offensive line doing what they do best, but it might just take a while. And we saw that last year with Cody Schrader. It would take a while sometimes, but then he would, in the fourth quarter, the Mizzou running game would take over.
Just keep hitting those outside zones.
Yeah, I feel like that is going to be, we need Brady Cook and the receivers to do enough to hand the ball to Nate Noel in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, show that we can beat them over the top. Yeah. Open some running lanes. Yeah, I'm excited to see. I mean, they, like I said, I don't think they'll have any choice but to at least take some shots, to try to be more explosive, to beat the safety over the top, whatever. I think they're going to have to try those things in this game, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out. I would love if we kind of, our hunch might have been right a little bit, that things had kind of intentionally been vanilla a little bit, and I don't know that we'll be able to tell though.
Yeah, I think if Cook is just letting it go on that first read, when he sees what he needs to see there, we just got to let it go.
I agree.
That's going to be a key early to know if there's been anything change in the bye week. I think Missouri's going to win this game. I already wrote my score prediction down so that I don't accidentally copy you. Well, so I don't intentionally copy you. So say what you think first.
Okay.
I'm predicting a Mizzou win.
I'm going to predict a Mizzou win. I think they win 23-17.
That's where my head's at. I'm going to give it a little bit higher scoring. I'm going to go 27-20.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Feels like most of the analytics and like predictive stuff is saying, well, first of all, the betting line is A&M by 2.5.
Is it really?
I think. But most of the analytic stuff I've seen is giving Mizzou like a 3 or 4 point edge.
Yeah.
In the predictive metrics.
Yeah, Texas A&M 2.5 point favorite as of now.
Yeah, that home field advantage.
I guess so. Vegas not impressed with Missouri's season so far.
No. Yeah, I think Missouri gets it done. It's going to be a big one though. I think they're going to feel the pressure, and they got to just persevere, and the offense has to make enough plays in the first half. Like get a halftime lead. What Coach Drink has talked about is like getting a 2-score lead so that the teams have to kind of push the issue a little bit on offense. They weren't really able to do that. They had spots against Boston College and against Vanderbilt where they had the ball ready to go up by 2 touchdowns and change the game script, and they haven't been able to do it.
Yeah.
We're both predicting wins, big wins in College Station. And then if they do that, they get the reward of traveling to Massachusetts.
What if they lose?
If they lose, they get punished by having to travel to Massachusetts. All right, big win. And we are ready to pick the rest of the SEC games. Last week was a weird week for the SEC, and I do want to remind folks, the only reason we care about the spread in this game is because the upset pick gets an extra point. You get 1 point if you pick the game. Producer Cameron, help me out here. You're better at explaining this.
If you pick the favorite and they win, you get 1 point.
Thank you.
If you pick the underdog and they win, you get, no matter what the spread is, you get 2 points.
Perfect.
It's a silly game we play.
Yes. We're not betting people as far as betting against the spread, so it makes it easier for us.
Okay.
How'd we do last week?
Not too bad. Kyle and I both had 6 points. Cam and the guest pickers had 7.
Okay.
You guys made me pick Georgia.
That's true.
Yeah.
You knew that they were going to lose.
I knew they would.
And you still picked them.
I didn't want to be in an island in that scenario, but yeah. What was I going to do? You guys all pick Alabama. What was I going to be like? I'll take Alabama.
Yeah, as the leader in the points going
exactly. Like what? I mean, what are we doing here?
And I will.
If you would have picked Bama, you would have had a perfect sheet for the week, but
And I will make a point to always peer pressure you into making those bad decisions.
Yeah, keep doing it
as much as I can. I realized I was rooting for Arkansas, thinking that I picked them during the game, but I actually picked A&M.
Sometimes I have to go back and like listen to the podcast on a Saturday. I'm like, who did I pick here?
Everybody picked Ole Miss. I think everybody in the
course.
country picked Ole Miss.
Yes.
yeah.
Who's our guest picker this week?
Josh.
Welcome in, Josh.
Welcome in.
First game up is number 4 Tennessee at Arkansas. Tennessee is a 13.5-point favorite.
Now, this feels like a repeat of last week where we were talking about how good Ole Miss is and how like maybe they're like one of the very best teams in the country, and then they got upset by like middle of the road SEC team. Tennessee might very well be one of the best teams in the country. I bet you're glad we don't have to play them this year.
You could say that. That's like the kiss of death, right?
Exactly.
Saying that exact thing about a team.
So I'll take Tennessee.
Yeah. They're playing Arkansas.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to be. Yeah. Their downfall will not happen this week.
I'll take Tennessee. Tennessee all around.
And that means that's all
you have to do.
Yeah.
Now they'll lose.
Yeah.
Auburn at number 5, Georgia. Georgia is a 24.5-point favorite.
Georgia's going to be mad they lost. They got to run the table the rest of the way. They're going to win by a lot, probably.
Yep. Crazy game last week. Did we already say that?
No, we didn't. We barely talked about it.
Georgia, Alabama.
Yeah. They
Crazy.
were, yeah, that was a wild game. They were not playing old man football. They were playing young kid football.
Well, that was like one of the rare times where Georgia was like, oh no, like we are behind. We have to throw the ball and be aggressive now.
Yeah. And they did it.
They did it. Yeah.
But
not enough though.
Yeah. Those Jalen Milroe and those receivers are
insane.
Yeah. That play early where Milroe dodged the pass rush. Hey,
we got to play that team
sheesh.
in a few weeks.
We'll be ready.
Yeah.
You and I will be ready.
Are you done?
Did we pick anything?
Are you done? Yeah, what do we do?
Next up. Number 12, Ole Miss at South Carolina. Ole Miss is a 9.5-point favorite.
Are they broken or was that a fluke?
Uh,
Don't even start to try to like diagnose what South Carolina is.
Seriously. I would say Ole Miss is a good team still, and that was a little fluky.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll take Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
Give me South Carolina.
Oh, let's go.
Josh takes Ole Miss. That's a comeback pick. I mean, they're going to be really far behind or make up some ground. Let's see. Next up is number 1, Alabama at Vanderbilt. Poor Vanderbilt.
Pavia. Shock the world.
Only 23.5-point favorite for Alabama.
I'll take Alabama and they will cover.
Wow. Not
that that matters at all in this game.
I'll take Alabama, but Vanderbilt covers.
Ooh. Alabama all around. UCF at Florida. UCF is a 2.5-point favorite. Give me Florida.
Florida, who did Josh pick?
It's hard to say.
I want to know.
He picked Florida.
Wow, 3 picks for Florida already.
This is the exact same situation as last week.
UCF's the favorite?
They have
they're going to win
KJ
that.
Jefferson.
Yeah. Florida's bad, Kyle.
Okay, I'll go UCF.
Let's go.
Here we go again. The exact same thing again.
Okay, last and certainly least, Rutgers at Nebraska. Nebraska is a 7-point favorite.
Rutgers?
Rutgers.
They're undefeated.
Yeah.
Really? Who they played?
They just beat somebody last week. I don't
They
remember
beat
who.
somebody. I mean,
They
believe
beat
it.
4 teams this year.
Okay, that's all I need to know. It's at Nebraska.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
7-point home favorite. I'm going to pick the opposite of whatever you pick.
Okay, that's fun. I'm going to go Nebraska.
All right. Rutgers it is.
Oh.
Give me Nebraska.
How does that make you feel?
Not very good.
Josh takes Nebraska.
Rutgers Island.
Rutgers Island. They beat Washington last week. Is Washington good? I don't know.
No, Washington's bad.
They lost all their players to the NFL.
And their coach.
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer just took the life out of that program. Took it to Tuscaloosa.
Shut off the lights.
What's that? Did you say what the season total is for points?
No. Season total right now is I have 26. The guest pickers and Cam have 29, and Kyle has 31.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Go UCF.
Go Rutgers. I don't have my names pulled up. Can you buy some time, Kyle? My computer went to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see.
You're doing great.
I saw a Rutgers highlight last week on Twitter.
Okay.
They have a running back who still looks kind of like Isaiah Pacheco.
Yes, I did see that.
And kind of stomping a little bit and stuff.
Yeah. A little bit of erratic running style.
Exactly. That's how they bring them up there.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters: Britt Treese, Ryan Demore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Tim Keens, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Groffalo, Brandon Hanks, Matthew Tilley, Luis Hernandez, Joshua Jacobson, Devontae Eston. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We love you. And you can find this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Is that what you said? 2317.
You doing algebra over there? Yes.
2317.
Yeah.
What's the
2319?
Yeah. 2319. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week after a win.